here. So today, this is the evening session. Certainly was expecting a few more people, and we had a small group this morning, which was great because smaller groups you can move a little bit faster. So this is a commission public awareness work group. This is session 2 on March 1st, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. And what we're going to do is we're going to go over the instructions of the session. We're going to we're going to check in. We're going to do a digital brainstorming session. And then we're going to talk about a summary. We're going to go over a summary and then have action items. All right. Again, my name is Ulysses Archie. I'm just here to facilitate and, encourage people to engage and talk about the issue of being on the public awareness work group for trauma-informed commission and what we're all about. So just checking in. You can just put it in the chat. How are you feeling today? Or we can just say it. I feel pretty good. Today's been a really good day for a lot of reasons. This morning's event was amazing. And so, it's been great. It's been a good day. And so how's your day going?
Sure, that's great to hear. I have been traveling all day, so I am down in Atlanta now. I'm staying the night, and then I'm actually leaving for Finland in the morning. So I am in the midst of travel. But honestly, it is while it's a little bit chaotic, it has been a good day as far as I enjoy a hotel room. I just had a baby a couple months ago, so being alone and in the quiet is actually very peaceful right now.
That is awesome. So, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. That's one thing about these types of things is you don't get a chance to really build relationships with people. You see people, you don't really know them. And,
right.
And this is kind of a wonderful way to get to know people. And I have another activity that I'll be talking about a little bit later on to share with you as well.
Okay.
Below, we're just going to do an icebreaker. And so just pick one of the questions below and answer it.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'll do what's the most challenging thing you've done? I would say when I was a freshman in college, I did a backpacking trip through Canada. And it was 12 days in the woods. We had to canoe to set up camp, and we were pretty much stranded in the wilderness for 12 days. It rained every single day. We had bears eat most of our food.
Wow.
It was truly a wilderness experience, and it was something that at the time, I wasn't thrilled with it. It was a lot more intense than I anticipated, but it's something that being able to overcome that and come out on the other side was something that I see as a really positive experience for me.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the questions is a random kindness, a random act of kindness you did for a stranger. Well, actually, there was a random kindness action that someone did towards me. We put out a table every week in the Peace Park to share food that we get from the organic markets. And this lady came up and gave me like $20. And I was like, wow. We're not doing this for the money or anything. And she was like, I'm sure gas costs some money, and you do so much for the community. This is the best I can do. So I was like, oh my gosh.
That's fantastic.
I'm very grateful. We do try to engage with people and build relationships. And that's what we're all about.
Very cool. I love that.
So here is the first assignment. It's called the preview page. And what we're doing is a work group assignment. Is due on March 11th, and you can do your preview page. And we have all the instructions on the website. So I'm going to take you to the website. Have you been to the website yet?
I have not.
Okay, I'll take you to the website and let's see, I will put it on so that you can see it. Okay, so here's our public awareness work group website, and it just tells you what our goals and our mission is and how to contact me. And then there's also the work group supports, and these seats are all vacant. We have a co-chair, we have a scribe, co-facilitator, technical specialist, secretary, recorder, and timekeeper, because I'm terrible with time, and breakout session facilitators. Now, we have about 45 people on the list, and I realized that this was like last minute, but they were like, we want you guys to start meeting. So I just, reached out to people on Friday and tried to have a meeting on Tuesday. And so that's kind of what this is. But also, we need to fill these seats. And the way that we're going to do that is by, I'll talk about the preview assignment again. This is our first meeting. We had these 2 sessions on today's agenda. I did go over that today's agenda already, but then we have the next thing is the preview page. Now, the preview page assignment is I thought that I had a link to this. Oh, this is assignment links down here. So this is the preview page assignment, and you can just go to the link and it'll open up and you'll see the instructions to the preview page. And so there they are. And so you can read the instructions and you can do the preview page. I happen to have I kind of stole this from the ELP program where my wife was a fellowship, and when she did this, like incredible. So this is what they did for their cohort in 2020, and everybody had a different page, and it really really spoke to what they were doing and what they were
really
about.
Cool.
And everything. And so this is a way that we can get to know people and understand and do kind of like an assessment of the group. Because, we gather, but we don't really have a relationship or know anything about anybody. I mean, some people do. There's some people that have invited everybody to this space because they know what everybody can do. But then we don't have any idea. There's my wife and what we do. And so that's, we try to, do this so that we can really build community. So
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So let me go back to that. And so here we go. So we're going to have a digital brainstorming today. And basically, you're going to use your chat box as a way of communicating and also you can talk about it. We'll probably just talk about it, and then I'll synthesize it. If there's anything that you want to encapsulate in the report about this brainstorming session, please put it in the chat box, and then I can share it with everyone. So when I started looking at, there was a presentation that this lady did from Tennessee. I think it was our second or third meeting with the Trauma-Informed Commission, and she was talking about adverse childhood experiences. I happen to be trained in adverse childhood experiences here in Baltimore as a master trainer. I was a part of the first cohort, and I was just very lucky to be a part of that very first cohort. But as I was looking at this, I was like, wow, this really encompasses everything that we're trying to do. And one of the things I was asking is, how can a trauma-informed Maryland turn into a trauma responsive state instead of just being informed? How can we transform into a trauma responsive state? So this really shows how you can do it And I think we're going to be living somewhere in here.
Right.
And then it's actually, we're going to be actually doing this kind of, the arrow's going the other direction, counterclockwise. We want to focus in on the communities. We want to focus in on the communities that are within the governmental agencies. So we're going to be focusing on the human services, the healthcare arena and finances, the juvenile justice service, mental health, and then all of the groups that Maryland State funds. So we're going to be doing the communications to them and giving them the information that relates to trauma-informed response, of being trauma-informed and being trauma responsive. So I just wanted to show you this diagram and get your thoughts on it as well. And what you were thinking about in terms of trauma-informed. So we're just going to get started. And okay, so what is the role of the Trauma-Informed Care Commission and Public Awareness Work Group? So what is your idea of the Public Awareness Work Group?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the diagram that you just showed, becoming trauma responsive is really about action. I feel like, being trauma informed, I think, is a knowledge base and it's a way of understanding. It's a lens to look through. But I think being trauma responsive is really putting that into action, and and how we can be, how we can respond to our community and engage with our neighbors. So I think from the public works group, I think it's a lot about sharing information from each of these sectors, as you see on this wheel, about what that looks like kind of across the board. So in order for Maryland to really be a trauma responsive state, it's going to take all parts. We often see, I'm from Carroll County, and we see that we have kind of pockets of trauma informed, I think. But as a community, we are not trauma informed. We're moving in that direction, but we're kind of siloed as far as who's engaged. So I think if we could do a better job at bringing awareness and talking about it more from a media perspective, I think that we could bridge the gap a little bit easier.
Yeah, one of the things that we brought up during the presentation from Tennessee was what she called a learning lab, a place where people would go to get resources and to kind of frame it around a common language. And so that's why I thought I wanted to be a part of this particular group.
Absolutely.
Be part of the learning lab experience and part of sharing this information with other groups.
And I think it's going to be really important as you look at the other work groups. I'm in the metrics and assessment one as well. I haven't participated in it yet, but I think it's going to be interesting as we pull the work groups together from the commission perspective. The public awareness work group, I think, is really going to be the piece that pulls all those pieces together and shares that message with the community. So it's really going to be, our role to how do we formulate that message in a way that's consistent and cohesive, so that we're just, really displaying a consistent message for the state of how we can all be, action oriented in this trauma informed, trauma responsive lens.
So okay, bye. So what kind of do we need to create for a public awareness work group?
I guess more information for me about what some action items for the group would be helpful. Is our role to create, is it really a marketing role? Is it about creating the messaging, the content? I think if we're looking at those perspectives, and I think there's those might be a couple different subgroups. Who is our audience? I think it depends. I don't know that I'm super clear on the actual real intent of the group, other than kind of my assumptions based on the title.
That's why this brainstorming is so important, because we need to talk about it, talk about each person's individual thoughts about the group.
Okay.
The one, I had a young lady that was a part of the group, and she was going to be the co-chair, But then it was more directed towards internal governmental education and public awareness, and not the external, because if the internal doesn't know about it, how are they going to be able to do it externally?
Right.
So she was like, that's not what I signed up for. And so and I was like, it's okay, you're good. And she said that she would be sticking around and working with us. So I look forward to her, coming back, because we need everybody. We need everybody able to really figure this out. It may not be what you expected it to be, but if we could work together and kind of put the puzzle together, I think it's going to work
out. Absolutely. And I think both sides of the coin are important. Certainly, internally, we want to make sure that we're consistent in our message and have a good grasp of what our intention is with being trauma responsive and creating that lens through the state. But then certainly, I think I know in the work that I do, we're talking about this all the time. I feel like every day we're talking about, trauma-informed care. We're talking about, we solely work with people that are impacted by trauma. So this is something that we talk about very often in my work. And then you talk to, I might talk to my neighbor about it, and they don't have any clue as far as what trauma-informed care even really means. Sometimes a lot of people, I keep hearing it, it sounds like a buzzword. And so I think it's really our goal to, like you said, both bring that to, with internally, have that consistent message, but be able to share that in a way that people that don't do this work every day have a good understanding of how they can contribute within their communities.
Yeah, I think it'll world be that. And that's kind of like our mission too.
Absolutely.
So our next question is, how do we engage with our target audience with this public awareness? And what are your thoughts around that? I mean, like you were saying that, media driven, and that would be great. And do you have any other ideas about how we would address our target audience? And our target audience, just for now, what we're saying is the internal people that we fund, the state funds, and the internal people there in the state that does all the works in all the offices broadly across the state. It sounds so big, but it's if it's done simply and we stay on message, I think it'll be a very easy thing to do.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that's an easier place to start than trying to bring it to the general public. I think, communicating with internal people and folks that are doing this work is going to be a little bit easier. Initially I was thinking media, but, I think social media is a really good platform if we're looking about the general public. But I think maybe if we're talking about state government and those that the government funds as far as programs, maybe a different platform. I'm trying to think of what that might be.
Well, I still think that we can use a lot of public access. I think we can use some other ways, but we have to really find out how they communicate now. We don't even have a clue as to what their communication channels are, how the flow goes back and forth, what people are saying to their folks, if they're even aware of the trauma-informed or trauma responsive city or state that they're trying to be a part of, and all of those types of things. I just had so many questions, but I think in this group, I think we have enough minds that we can figure some stuff out.
Absolutely. I do think that that's going to be critical as far as finding out kind of the inside scoop of how they're communicating now and how we can bring our messaging that we create with the commission and the work group, how we bring that in and make it seamless with the communication that they already have.
Yeah, because I think it's going to be crucial. And another thing, I'll be sharing the trauma-informed framework for about 4 or 5 states. So that'll be on the website as well, so that people can look at what other people have done and that are doing to see where the public awareness fits in. And then when we reconvene, we can really start to get to work on, what we need to be doing and really start to narrow it down.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. So, okay. How can we transform Maryland into a trauma responsive state?
It's the big question, right?
Yeah, that's a big question. So how do you communicate? You said that you communicate about this in your space. How is that done, and who initiates that type of communication?
So I run a youth center in Carroll County. We serve children and families impacted by trauma through group mentoring programs, essentially. And so we talk often about working with the students that we work with. Our organization has really become kind of a hub in our community for other agencies that are serving children, because the center that we run, really running a youth center, I always say it's kind of like a fishbowl. These kids come in, they're engaging more kind of in their natural environment. They're not sitting in front of a therapist. They're not in school sitting behind a desk. They're shooting pool in the back. They're playing ping pong. They're playing video games. They're really just kind of in their very natural state. And so we get a different perspective of their lives. And so we've done a lot of work to bring in those other key people, like their therapists, their teachers in school, probation officers, social workers, and things like that. We bring them around the table, and we kind of create this environment where we can all wrap around these children and their families and really share and create more of a kind of whole child approach to helping them overcome some of their challenges. And so from that, I feel like we've seen that, as I mentioned, like we are constantly speaking about being trauma informed, but I feel like some of those other systems aren't being as intentional with it. And so I think it's super critical that we bring like the school systems into this. I think, being such a large environment that kids and families and communities are kind of centered around, I think we really need trauma-informed schools. Our juvenile justice system, you go back to that wheel, all of those people on that wheel, I think have to be involved in that conversation. And it has to be kind of what we've created. It's got to be this around the table, free-flowing, sharing of concepts and best practices as far as trauma responsive goes. But I really think that it's going to take, as far as the state look, it's going to take all of those systems. It's going to be top down. It's going to take, government agencies. It's going to, it feels so big sometimes because I really think it's got to be a widespread, in order for it to be really effective in our state, it's got to be a widespread initiative. And that's why I was super excited to see the commission pop up and all this work that we've seen in like a lot of our grant fundings through the state, that this is such a big push. So I'm super excited to see that. I think we can get there, but I think it's all about communication. So I think the public awareness group has a lot of work to do as far as making sure people know what this is all about.
Yeah, you can see my list of people that we need in our groups so that we can effectively do this. I mean, one person, people can't do this work. I mean,
no,
there's got to be a group of people that are looking at this as a thing to do, and actually manning their specific areas and pushing the wheel forward all together. So this has been
absolutely, and I think amazing. I think too, just to add, I think too, like bringing people from different, I work kind of in the behavioral health field a little bit. And I think, we are often seeing a lot of people in the behavioral health field are talking about this. But what about people in like local government or like I mentioned, the education system. So like making sure that as we're building work groups and the commission, I think making sure that those voices are at the table. So not only different, diversity in as far as industry, but also locality. So, I'm from Carroll County, bringing people from other districts, I think is really important because what it looks like in Carroll might not be what it looks like in Baltimore County or, Garrett County so I think that, having a diverse team